All right, students, this is Mr. Anderson. I'm the Career and College Counselor here at CV, and I've received a lot of questions recently about scholarships, about where to look for them, how to apply, and so I just thought I'd make a quick video. Wherever you're at in the process, hopefully this will kind of help you as you start moving forward. So one of the typical responses I get from seniors at around this time of the year is, oh no, I haven't done anything with scholarships, which obviously is not a great thing. Kids ask me, am I too late on it when they're seniors and in March, almost April? And my answer is always no, but you've missed a lot. And so what would be important is to try and plan as early as possible. So if you're a sophomore, you're way ahead of the game in planning out how to tackle this as you go through high school. If you're a junior, you're kind of right in the perfect place to start preparing for this. Because really college applications or apprenticeship application, tech school, community college, all that stuff, all that process is just right around the corner. So no, it's not too late if you're a senior. However, you want to get started quickly, and let's talk about some ways to do that. So first of all, here's what we're going to cover. We're going to cover what are scholarships, how to complete them, where to find them, and how to get started. So let's kind of jump into it. Number one, I want to make sure that you understand. Just because you need money for college does not mean that you're going to get it. I know that's really frustrating. And some people that don't need it are going to be ones that end up earning the scholarships. Honestly, the process isn't always fair. It doesn't always feel fair. However, one thing that I want you to understand is just because you might have to apply to a bunch of them in order to hopefully be able to get one doesn't mean it's not worth your time. And sometimes you're just going to find yourself on the outside looking in. Maybe you're not going to end up receiving any scholarships. Hopefully you will. But even if you don't, there's always a way to pay for college. If you don't know how to do that, I encourage you at some point to reach out to me and we can talk about some of those options. All right. So what are scholarships? Let's look at that real quick. First of all, it's free money to college. That's one thing that's really important for you to understand. You don't need to pay it back. It's used typically for tuition, books, supplies, living expenses, all those types of things. It's offered actually by many colleges and organizations. There are thousands and thousands of organizations around the country that offer scholarships. In addition, there's a lot of colleges that offer their own scholarships. In fact, most do. Even the Community College of Spokane has an organization called the CCS Foundation that ends up giving out scholarships only for students that go to SCC or Spokane Falls. So I encourage you, keep looking for all of the organizations that offer them to see if you might qualify for some. Typically, it doesn't happen automatically. At some colleges, even like WSU or a lot of the state colleges or definitely a lot of private schools, they'll offer an academic scholarship right up front. That part happens automatically just from filling out a college application. But honestly, there's not a lot of them that are just going to be automatic like that. The rest of them, actually, you got to look for them. You've got to fill out a separate application. There's some work that's going to be involved. You've got to be willing to dedicate that time. They can range anything from a small $50 scholarship, which it wouldn't cover a lot, but it'd cover a book. So it might be worth it, up to hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, keep in mind, the larger the scholarship, the more applicants that there are going to be. So that definitely means the smaller the scholarship, probably the smaller number of students will apply to it, meaning that's going to be your best chance. Just keep that in the back of your mind. That doesn't mean don't apply to the big ones, but your best chance are going to be a lot of the smaller ones. All right, so who can apply to scholarships? Well, it kind of depends on the scholarship. Some are only for specific grade levels of students. Like we just had one for juniors called the EWI scholarship. Then there's one that's offered by Discover Card. I believe that one's still just for juniors. And then there's a lot of them where you have to be a senior in order to apply to them. There are some where you could actually be a middle schooler and still apply to the scholarships. A lot of middle schoolers aren't thinking about that stuff, but that does exist. There are some for specific ethnicities. There are some for specific colleges, even by an outside organization or an outside family that's offering a scholarship for students to go to a specific college. There are some for specific majors, for specific parental connections, whether that's work or an organization that your parent is involved with, or even for specific high schools. So we actually have a couple scholarships where really only the students that are going to Central Valley High School qualify for this scholarship, because it's only being given to students or graduates from CV. So really it depends on the scholarship, which is why you need to really read the description of the scholarship to see if it works for you or not. Now, where can you use it? Well, it kind of depends on the scholarship. So some of them are really wide open and they say you can go anywhere that's accredited. Some of them will say you can do an apprenticeship program. Some of them say that it has to be a college or university. Sometimes it's only for a community college. And so you need to kind of look at the wording on that. But there are some scholarships that are specifically geared toward tech schools and apprenticeship programs. So if you're looking at that, I highly encourage you to check out those. Oftentimes, to the organization that's offering the scholarship, you have to actually report your decision, like where you're going or what you're doing, to the organization, either after they grant you the scholarship or at the time of application. Because some of the organizations actually send the money directly to where you're going. They don't actually send it to you. In fact, that's fairly typical for a lot of scholarships, although some will just send it to you. Now, let's talk about kind of like where you can find scholarships, because that's one of the things that students ask all the time, because what they do is they go in and Google search it. I want to just say, don't just Google search scholarships. All you're going to get is a bunch of weird websites, and some of them are scams. So here's what I would say. First of all, they are mostly online. Most of the ways that you search for scholarships and find them is going to be online. You see here on the screen, that's a site called Going Merry. That's kind of an interesting scholarship site. But you do definitely need to spend some time looking online at those. We actually do have a Spokane Valley scholarship list that we work together with East Valley High School, Micah Peak, Spokane Valley Tech, University High School, and West Valley High School on keeping this list updated. And we update it all the time. So sometimes it'll be updated 15 times in a week, and sometimes it won't be updated for a week. It all depends on when the scholarships are sent to us. But this is going to be your best place to actually locate local and regional scholarships, because the local scholarships, this is the only place typically that you're going to actually find the information for it. So where do you actually find this list? It's actually located on our Central Valley High School website under the Counseling and Careers and under the Career Center. You can also find it in Google Classroom for your class. Up at the top under classwork, you'll be able to find the Spokane Valley Scholarship list. But this is going to be a great resource, and you're going to want to use this as you go through high school. Keep constantly coming back to it. And if you're like an underclassman and you're trying to figure out, well, what are some of the scholarships that maybe I might be qualified for, even if it's not something that I can apply for now, if you look at the bottom of this document, you'll find all the inactive scholarships. So those are the ones that the deadline's already passed. So what you can do is you can look at all those and you can try and put into your calendar for next year or the year after, be watching for these scholarships at around this time, because scholarship organizations typically happen around the same time from year to year. So definitely be using this. But the other thing is, located on our website and again in Google Classroom, we've created an online scholarship search document. It's a list of links and reputable, good links that you can go to, good sites that are not scams and will provide you your best opportunity to find scholarships. Now, one thing to note, you don't need to create an account on all of these. A lot of them are going to have the same scholarships. What I typically tell students to do is I say, well, maybe look at the Washboard, because it's a little different. It's an organization that is based here in Washington State and offers a bunch of scholarships that are regional, and the actual application is inside the site. And then at least pick one other site like scholarships.com or Unigo, and create an account on there and start looking. A lot of students like the interface of Unigo. Scholarships.com is not as pretty of a site, and yet I find they have some great curated lists. So like lists for students looking at computer science or nursing or engineering, and they'll have a list of a bunch of scholarships for those majors. I actually use scholarships.com all the time. Going Mary is actually a little different, and is actually a newer site, but I encourage you to check it out. But you don't need to create an account on all of these. If you already have an account on Big Future and you want to just use that, it's a great one. But just at least go through this, look at the website, see which ones you think might be best for you. All right, now there are some apps out there to actually look for scholarships, but I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of the apps are kind of garbage. A lot of them just pull from a simple, small database that is significantly behind sites like Unigo and Big Future. So one thing I would do is I would stick with the big names. So scholarships.com, there's an app called Scholly. Some of those are okay. But honestly, your best bet is going to be just to use your browser and actually access the websites through that instead of the apps. The apps are really convenient and they work really nicely on the phone, but oftentimes their list of scholarships is just not as significant. So who actually offers scholarships? Because you got to be able to figure out. So these are great sites to go to, and you can definitely use those resources. But there are more scholarships out there than that. Again, if you just Google search just randomly scholarships, you're going to find some weird sites. So I wouldn't encourage you to do that. However, if you're looking for something specific like nursing scholarships, you can always Google search that because it might come up with some interesting things. Or maybe you've gone through a difficult time in your life, maybe a health issue, like you actually had cancer or you whatever. You can always look up something like lymphoma scholarships or scholarships for students living in poverty or foster care scholarships. There are all sorts of lists like that out there. So if you're specific on that, you might be able to find some good things. Just don't find some random site and create an account because you don't want to give them that information. But here's some other places that you can be looking. So you can look at college websites. Some of the businesses will offer scholarships. Like Coca-Cola is a huge, massive scholarship. They have probably the largest number of applicants every year that apply to their scholarships. They're nonprofits, foundations. Even if you attend a church, a lot of churches will actually offer scholarships. You can check that out. The military definitely offers scholarships, both through the GI Bill and ROTC. You can look through your parents' work because some of those businesses that your parents are working at, they have dependent scholarships. So meaning you have to be a child of somebody that works there. If your parents are a part of a club or a part of a union, if they're a part of an alumni organization from a college or from anything, even fraternities or sororities, if your parents were a part of that, sometimes they'll offer scholarships too. So I definitely say check that out because there's a lot of other places, even besides just those organizations that can do that. All right, so now let's look at, how do you complete the applications? Because a lot of people don't even understand what is a scholarship. So a scholarship's going to ask for a lot of different things. It's going to ask for a lot of demographics. So everything from your address, phone number, email, all sorts of stuff. And a lot of them will ask for your social security number. I know a lot of parents get really nervous about that. The problem is if a scholarship is giving the money directly to a college, whether that's a community college, tech school, or a university, they oftentimes need your social security number so it can match, it can actually get connected to the right student account. So if a scholarship is asking for the social security number, I would not be too concerned about that as long as you feel like it's pretty secure in how they're actually using that information, at least a secure organization. If it's some random group that you've never heard of, I wouldn't give them your social security number. But on the other hand, if it's like Liberty Lake Kiwanis or the Coca-Cola Scholarship or something like that, those are large organizations or local organizations that won't abuse that. Some of them will ask for a transcript as well because they'll want to look at your individual grades or they want to look at your overall GPA, be able to verify that, or sometimes they just want to see that your course selection through high school. Not all of them do that. Some of them will ask you to just report on some of that information. But sometimes you will need a transcript. Typically, that is not an official transcript. A couple of them ask for that. Most of them just will accept an unofficial transcript. There are a lot of scholarships out there that require an essay. We'll talk about the essay here in just a second. But if they do require an essay, you want to make sure that you keep really focused on the main point of what you're trying to say, whether that's that connection to the organization or whether it's a connection on what you're wanting to do in your future. Another thing is some of them will ask for letters of recommendation. Not all of them do. But if they do, it's typically 1 or 2 letters of recommendation that they'll ask for. I would encourage you, if you're a freshman or sophomore, keep thinking about the people that you would want to ask for a letter of recommendation. Don't ask a year ahead of time for a letter because teachers, coaches, stuff, they don't have a lot of time to be able to write letters of recommendation for someone that doesn't need one right now. However, keep a list of who you'd want to ask if a scholarship comes up. And then when a scholarship comes up, make sure that you give the person who's going to be writing your letter of recommendation at least 2 weeks to write it. That's what we always ask. Now, can some of us write more than that? I mean, in less time than that? Absolutely. Last year, I actually wrote over 100 letters of recommendation, which was kind of insane. And a couple of them I had like 2 days or even the same day in order to write it. I'm not real happy when that happens, so I wouldn't encourage you to make that something that you typically do. However, there are a lot of us that if we can make it work, we want to help you. Just make sure to give us as much time as possible. And then I will say some of the scholarship applications will ask for some financial information. And I know, again, that makes some parents feel a little uncomfortable. I totally understand that. However, what some of the scholarships are asking is for there to be a demonstrated financial need. So if there's a financial need, they're going to actually ask for some financial information. Typically, that's going to be something more like, what's your EFC, which is an expected family contribution, after you've completed the FAFSA. So those are only going to be for seniors. A lot of people are not going to be asking for financial information if you're applying to a scholarship before the senior year, but some of them will do that. So I just want to give you a heads up that some of them ask for that. If you feel uncomfortable, you can always choose not to apply. Or you can always feel free to come in and ask me if it's legit and whether you'd have any concern by actually including that on the application. So those are some of the things that could be. Some of them are a real simple demographic application. Some of them are way more involved. It all depends on the application itself and the scholarship. All right, so what are some essay tips? Because when you go to actually write the essay, it can be pretty overwhelming. So a couple things to keep in mind. Number one, make sure that it's well edited. Make sure that you're showing college level writing skills. You want to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward, your absolute best foot forward. Make sure that you have some adults that can edit it well or help you edit it well, that will read over, make sure things feel cohesive, make sure that things feel like it's flowing together, make sure that your word usage is good. It needs to show passion and intellectual curiosity when appropriate in the essay, because if it's just asking for a simple description on your activities that you've been involved with, well, you should be able to show some passion for what you're doing in there, but that one won't lend itself as much to that passion and intellectual curiosity as opposed to something where it asks for, what is it that you're wanting to achieve in your life, or in 20 years, what are some evidence that you will be that you can look back on your life and say that you've been successful. So there's all sorts of stuff. And by the way, I am going to have another video that's solely going to go off of scholarship and college admission essay, where I'm going to go through topics. I'm going to go through some suggestions just so that you solely have some information on that. So this is just giving you some basics, okay? You should try and show your character more than your achievements. So let them see the type of person you are, because they want to give money to good people, okay, more than just people that have achieved well. The topic actually doesn't matter. I'll talk about this a lot in the other video. The reflection on what you do can that's the thing that's going to matter more than anything else. Not exactly the topic. The person or event doesn't matter if you write about that. The learning from that person or event does matter. I would definitely say do not go over the maximum number of words or too far under. You want to keep real close to the maximum number of words. If you go too far under, people are going to wonder, why do you have nothing to say? So make sure that you're keeping close to that. Always end on a positive note. Even if you're writing about something that's a difficult thing in your life, make sure that you end on a positive note. And then show with your words. Don't just tell. So really use a lot of descriptive adjectives. Really be able to be creative with how you show the things that you're talking about. And then even when appropriate, use the 5 senses, not just this happened and this happened and this happened, but be a little creative and say, I woke up in the morning and I noticed this, I smelled this, something like, whatever is going to help demonstrate that. Now, again, in the other video, I'll go through it in more detail, but here are just a couple general essay topics that you'll see a lot in scholarship applications, where they'll ask about, what is your passion? And it could, oftentimes it deals with your career passion, but sometimes it can be about other things. Like some people have written about rap music or cross country or all sorts of things. Sometimes they're asking about an event that's really changed you. And so what you want to do is make sure that it doesn't matter how big or small the event is in your life. It matters that you can reflect on what did it mean to you. So I have seen everything from really small things of like, I sprained my ankle. And somebody actually wrote this, pretty powerful essay on how that changed that moment in their life to change what they were focusing on instead of just the sport where they got injured in. The reflection matters much more so than the event. It doesn't matter if it's even a small event. And then a person, they do want to kind of see at times like who's influenced you, who have you allowed to influence you? And then what did you learn from that person? By the way, some people have written about a negative influence. So a person that it wasn't a positive thing in their life, but this is what they ended up learning from it. That's totally fine. So these are just some real generic things. Again, in the other video, I'll go into a couple other specific prompts that you might come across. So how do you get started? Where do you start? Well, number one, keep a list of scholarships. Keep a list of the ones that you've completed. Also keep a list of ones that you're going to do. So especially if you're a junior or even a sophomore, keep a list of scholarships and the basic time of the year that you're going to be looking for them. And then prioritize your opportunities. Seniors, you know what I'm talking about here. You can't do it all. You don't have unlimited time. So what you do is you prioritize and you go after what you feel like is going to be your best chance first, which will always mean those scholarship applications, and we'll use that term application lightly, that are like scholarship drawings. Those ones, I've never seen a kid win those because it's just random. There's nothing you can do to improve your chances. So don't prioritize those things. Prioritize ones that take a little work because a lot of students don't want to put in the work. Set aside time each week, especially senior year. Junior year, you're not going to find a lot of scholarships. And for sure, sophomore, you're not going to find hardly any that are going to apply to you. So if you're a freshman or sophomore, you're more planning than you are actually filling out scholarship applications. But set aside time each week. Maybe it's a Friday night for 1 hour. Maybe it's a Sunday afternoon for 2 hours, however you can do. And then set a goal for at least, especially senior year, set a goal for about 5 a month. That's actually a lot. You're not always going to be able to hit that. And you think, well, that shouldn't be that much. Well, if you're having to write an essay for them, it's a lot of work. So again, pace yourself, prioritize those opportunities. And then I will say, like I said at the beginning, you're not going to get a lot. Yeah, you're not. Don't get discouraged. Keep going until you start college, because those scholarships that are due during the summer after graduation are sometimes your best chance, because a bunch of seniors have kind of given up on their chance and they have fewer applications. So keep going. In fact, there are a lot of scholarships available for students in college that get unapplied for every year. Because once you get into college, you just think, well, I'm working to try and pay my way through it. But honestly, you want to keep applying for scholarships through that. And then the main thing that I would say is you gotta just start. You do. In fact, this is what I always tell. This can be an overwhelming process. And this is what I always tell students. Find the easiest scholarship that you can complete. Not a scholarship drawing, but the easiest scholarship application you can complete. Sit down, complete it, submit it, and it will feel good, but it'll also motivate you that this isn't that bad. I can keep going. And oftentimes you can recycle or tweak essays so that you can use them multiple times. So just be watching for that. All right. So hopefully that gave you some information to get started. Hopefully you'll start to connect with that Spokane Valley scholarship list. You'll look at the resources that I gave you on that online scholarship resources page. Make sure to check those ones out. And then if you have any questions, feel free to email me. You can also connect with me through Google Hangouts. So email me at canderson@cvsd.org. If you're going to use Google Hangouts, log into your Google account, your school Google account, and then you can chat with me on canderson@cvsd356.org. So put that in. Or even if you're wanting to sit down and talk through some of those options, you can actually schedule an appointment with me by going to calendly.com/Mr. Counselor. You can pick a time and day that works for you. And then what it does is it's going to send you some information on how to actually connect with me during that time through a program called Zoom. So we can actually do a web conference and have a dialogue back and forth. Now, for email, I'm really only checking my email from 7:15 to 2:45. Same with Google Hangouts. That's the best time to get a hold of me. For the web appointments, just make sure you're picking one of the times that I have in there. But if I can help you and be a resource for you, please let me know. Reach out. I'm here for you. Even though our school is kind of shut down and crazy things are happening around the world, I'm still working. And if you have any questions, I'm here for you. All right, so good luck with your scholarship searching.